Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're going to be taking a look at something pretty interesting. So I found this, obviously this has probably been circulating around your neck of the woods too, but I wanted to talk about it. What we're seeing here is the Lexicon for Raiders, Legion 7.0, basically like a cheat sheet, not even a cheat sheet, like a very detailed description of almost everything you would ever need to know about the expansion. And we're going to talk about it today. All right. I have some things that I want to bring up about it. It is in the description for anyone to view. First things first, of course, is credit. This all the credit belongs to however the hell you say that. I guess it's Medivh. It's a Russian guy, dude who plays on the Russian client, and he is a very skilled individual to put all this together with help from others, of course. And then it was translated to English by Ziriell from Ravencrest EU. So very cool. Thank you guys very much. If you happen to end up watching this, I totally appreciate it. And of course, all credit goes to them. But we are going to talk about it a little bit. I want to discuss a few things here, mostly because I feel like this can be overwhelming. I think this really goes a long way, actually, to discuss whether or not it is overwhelming for you. And kind of, this is obviously the point of this is to make it not overwhelming, the actual expansion. But the fact that there's so much stuff here for Raiders to do, I think this says a lot about Legion and like the longevity and the depth the expansion possesses. So first things first, we're kind of going to go through all of these tabs and discuss the most important topics. So this is something down here. You'll see the calendar. Obviously, the game comes out on Tuesday. I don't really understand this. So this is something that's been confusing me, or I guess it's confusing others. It says that the green day here, you'll see in the middle of the screen, the first day is green is the 31st, but the game comes out on the 30th, right? Like I'm pretty sure it comes out Monday night at midnight, not Tuesday night at midnight. But regardless, you'll have all that time. You'll have 3 full weeks to level. And even, in EU, I guess you get the extra day for the reset. So that's something to consider. But yeah, you'll have all that time. You have 3 full weeks until raids open to even worry about anything. Mythic Plus doesn't open until then either. So there's a good calendar for you there. And, assuming that we know exactly when raids are coming out, they would open the 21st. It would only be normal and, of course, heroic as well. No LFR. No Mythic, all right, that would be later on. And it would be also Mythic plus Dungeons. And this is Emerald Nightmare, which is the 7 boss raid, so there's that. And then after that, Mythic opens, and of course the eye level 895 gearing and farming, all that can begin from Mythic. So there's that. Yeah, so over here on the side, you'll see just a few other things, but yeah, about the authors and stuff like that. There it is there. Original guide too. If for some reason you're Russian and you want to read it there, you can. But yeah, like I said, check this out in the description. Very useful. So anyway, let's keep moving on. Some other things that are really important on this list, I wrote down a few interesting points and I want to talk about them really, is of course the bit here up top. I think this is really useful. Raids in Mythic plus Dungeon. Mythic plus Dungeon is obviously a very important part of this expansion, and as well as eye level. So you can't actually... you can't expect to just do one type of content if you're going to maximize the item level you're going to reach. And it's actually really important, as you see on the right there, Emerald Nightmare is the first raid that's going to be out, and Raid Finder is 835. So this is below regular Mythic 5-mans. And then, of course, Mythic plus 2, which would be the earliest Mythic plus, where things start to scale up, is already higher than that. And even if you just complete it, you get 860, which is higher than the normal gear in the first raid, which is 850. So these are things that are really interesting to compare. I'm glad somebody took the time to put them on paper. And then further extrapolated up that curve is, of course, Mythic, which is 880. And the best value you can get out of Mythic plus 5-mans is plus 10. Anything higher than that, the gear does not exponentiate, but it does continue to drop. So if you do 10 and then 11 and then 12, you're still getting gear from it. But the highest that you can get is 865 from the actual dungeons, of course, because that's farmable. And then you get credits for the box, which, the highest dungeon you get per week gives you credits, and that would be 10, and you'd get 880. So that would be a Mythic equivalent piece. So I've said this in a few different capacities, but Mythic plus 5-mans are going to be the highest gear yielder for those thinking about like farming Raid Finder to get 880 gear basically. I don't think you should do that. I think you should go do Mythic plus 5 or 10 or whatever you can. The higher you can do, the better chance you'll have at gear. And like I said already, just regular, the weekly Mythic dungeon, right, the one that you can do once a week and get loot from the bosses once a week, is already higher item level than Raid Finder, which won't be out for probably over a month and a half, if not 2 months from the launch date. So Yeah, I don't think anybody has much to worry about with LFR. So there's a bunch of other stuff here, but don't forget, guys, this is made by somebody who takes the game extremely seriously. So you can go ahead and read that if you like. And we're also talking about pre-raid gear here, and this is another good way to look at, the item level comparisons. As you're seeing there on the right there, 850 is, of course, the maximum item level possible. So if you're not aware, I actually made a thread on this. It was me who got the answer by Ian, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, he explained everything about how Titan Forging works and how the item level cap is going to work. It will be 850 until raids open, and then it'll be 895. And of course, legendaries are not anything like that. They don't count. So if you get a legendary, it can go all the way up to 895. Well, it is always 895. Let's not get it twisted. But on the screen, you'll see the item levels, including the legendary, down at the bottom. So go ahead and take a look at that. And then, of course, some other cheat sheets. One thing that is actually interesting, 854.9, as you see on the right there, is actually the highest item level you can gain before raids open, and that's including one legendary. I don't think you can get a second legendary before raids open. I think it takes like over 40 days. So yeah, no way you can get a second legendary. But if you have a legendary equipped and you have full 850 in every slot, then yeah, you're in good shape. So also we talk a little bit about crafting gear here. We talk about necks and rings and trinkets, and of course crafting is going to be a big part of this expansion too. So I would pay attention to that when you check this out. But anyway, it goes on to explain about like different pieces and different options. One thing I'll say is I would consider 840 to be sufficient for anyone who's looking to raid like normal/heroic the first weekend it opens. Obviously, if you're crazy serious about it, you'll want to be 854 or whatever it is. But I think anybody who plays the game regularly should be able to reach 840 quite easily. So if you're below 840 the day raids open and you're in a raiding guild, then just understand that you're probably a little bit behind. But then, of course, the other thing to consider is sockets. Sockets actually go very far in this expansion, basically just because of how, first of all, how much stats the gems have, but also because the actual secondary stats that you can get on the socket is really good. It's kind of like a modified reforging. Like, you can put so much secondary stats on these gear that it just gets out of control. So yeah, sockets may outweigh item level for a lot of classes, especially, if we're talking between 840 and 850. But anyway, there's another really cool part here where it's like a everyday to-do list. There's not really much to say here. You can check this out yourself. But one thing I wanted to bring up just kind of as a caveat here, as you see in the middle of the screen there, it says bonus. How do I get 810 gear to start farming heroics? Just get a group and go in manually. This is actually a big part of the expansion, something I don't think a lot of people understand. So I'm giving you fair warning now here, guys. It is very difficult to get to 810 because all the gear, like the gear exponentiates the more gear you have. And if you have no gear, it's very difficult to get to 810. In fact, you would have to get a lot of Titan Forged gear. You'd have to have your third relic slot open. So this is not something most people are going to be able to do the first 2-3 days they're 110. You're going to have to spend some time on all this. So yeah, it's not going to be easy to get right into heroics. So I would definitely agree with this comment here. Just go right to them. Find a group, even if you're not in a guild, just start pugging them and head in there, because I know a lot of people will be in this boat, and heroics should be easy enough that no matter what, even if you're still in Siege of Orgrimmar gear, even if you're still in Hellfire Citadel gear, you should still be able to do it. Here's a really interesting thing about professions. Now, this is not something I necessarily care too much about. Obviously, professions can be a very important part of the expansion, but I really don't feel like this level of maximization is needed when there's 5-man dungeons that could drop gear that's just as good. But of course, you can choose the stats you want on it, and you could upgrade it yourself. So I just think this is very, a lot more resource intensive from your own body. Like, you have to play the game a lot more to be able to use the crafting stuff to its finest, but it's still great. So here's a great little piece on that. Talks about how ashes, what's the name of the actual thing? Obliterum ash. You can get like different yields based on different items down here. So I would check that out as well. And then the tab here, preparing. I'm not really sure what they're going for, but regardless, it's just kind of like it's got auto quest turn in add-on, which is great, and then different types of add-ons and recommendations. 20 gliders apparently is good to have. I'm glad I have those. I definitely agree with the flasks and pots. There's no reason you should try to buy pots now, guys, and flasks now. They're gonna only degrade in value. There's no point in keeping them. So if you already have them, just hang on to them. Or there's no point in keeping them trying to sell them. You should definitely use them while leveling. You won't be able to really make flasks on the way up, so you definitely want to use the old stuff you have. And the heirloom trinkets are actually really good, especially especially because they are 815 item level guys. They do count. So you have 2. You can't wear 2, but if you have 2, 1 in your bag and 1 on, then it help you, gets you over the 810 between that and the ring. I think that really helps out a lot to get right into heroics. But anyway, yeah, think about your main spec, its talents and all that, and try to play properly for that. So then it kind of, I don't know if the guy's trying to rank the classes or just discuss them, but it's not really done. So that's that. You can check that out maybe by the time you guys watch this and check it out yourself. It will be done. Then there's a really interesting section on leveling, and the guy recommends to go to Stormheim first. In fact, let's read this out. He recommends obviously to do your artifact stuff first, which is a great deal of experience and very useful. But then he says select Stormheim as your first zone. First quest is scenario. Scenarios tend to be lag free, and fast completion will allow you to get ahead of others. I don't agree with this whatsoever. I think this is fundamentally flawed, and I'll tell you exactly why. First of all, if there's an issue with the servers, there's going to be an issue with the instance servers as well. 9 times out of 10, there may just be like random lag with mobs and stuff like this. But regardless, that scenario does not get you anywhere. It does not give you much experience, and it is not going to help you get out ahead of any others, especially doing what he recommends, because then he says do not do any quests after that. So it's like, you know what I mean? So what is the point in rushing getting through the scenario first if, first of all, it may not even work properly, but second, I don't really see it. So you only do only for the zones dungeon at the end of the chain. I just think it's definitely worth doing the zone that you feel is best for you. I would not worry about this, and if anything, I would definitely stay away from the scenario. But who knows? Maybe that's not the right mindset. Anyway, I would definitely check this out if I were you guys. Very useful. And then there's a whole thing on Suramar, which would take me all day to explain. Long story short, this is the thing you want to take a look at here. The rep, but I don't really understand Honored. It says 0k out of 12k for all 3 of those, which I don't believe is the case to get Orkway, Zugzugway, and Court of Green Men access. But either way, you're going to have to get the rep, and the best way to do it is the dailies. He talks about that as well. And the Shamblers scenario, a good way to maximize it. And so there's the reputation farm on the right. All the ways that is possible to get rep, and for some reason, Suramar dungeon bosses, he has a 0 rep. I don't know if that's actually the case. I've not really paid much attention to it, but I don't know why you would even add that if it's a 0 rep. So anyway, that's that. You can farm the mana too. The mana is actually really important. There's a little guide, a little like picture there that he recommends. So that's cool. I would definitely say, something I missed on the leveling part, I'm glad I looked over it. That is this part down here. Actually, it's down here. Yeah, should I focus on champions? And he recommends a few things, but regardless, the most important thing that I could say here is the fastest way to level up your champions is to have them with you, and I totally agree with that. I'm glad he mentioned that. It's actually really a really smart thing to do because they are going to make a difference. Like maybe not in preparing for one or for like raiding when it opens, but they are going to make, you're going to want them to be max level and as set up as possible. So this may not be something that you do immediately while leveling. That's why it's in the leveling section, but I would definitely consider spending a little bit of time with them. They make leveling easier as well. The first time you can get one is usually around 105, and that first one you get is always, I think always like it's always a follower. You can always come out with you, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, the next tab we have is Legendaries. There's a lot to talk about here, but I think the main thing to look at is where they drop from and where they don't drop from. It's also got the link to Wowhead over there, so that's kind of cool. But either way, I definitely think Legendaries are one of the coolest ideas ever implemented into the video game. I was actually just talking about this in the comments section of one of my videos with somebody who seemed to agree with me. You know, the Legendaries, they just changed the way you can play the game, and if they can keep iterating on this over the time, I think it's going to be really fun to grind for them. They're going to feel great. It's going to feel a lot more like Diablo's Legendaries, where the second you get them, you just feel the massive upgrade that they are, and especially since they're 895, imagine, getting one of these pre-raid when 850 is the cap. It's going to go a long way. It really is. So I think that's just such a cool idea. So take a note of all this here. And of course the different bad luck streak prevention as well. It's not clear how it works, but everyone on beta got at least one orange item during around 1 to 2 weeks. That's definitely not true. I did definitely not. I don't have a single legendary on any of my characters, and I have, let's see, /played on my paladin is 1 day 3 hours only, but I have I have probably close to 2-3 months played on all the characters, and I don't, or 2-3 months, 2-3 weeks played on most characters, and I don't have a legendary on them. So anyway, that's that. The legendaries are going to come over time either way. And the artifact, this is probably the best part of this guide, honestly. Tells you everything you need to know, and he actually suggests, some circumvention to not having an off-spec proper. It's not actually that big of a deal thanks to the changes they made to artifact knowledge. But the coolest part here is, as you see on the right there, artifact power sources at plus 0%. A very, 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 very good little idea there to include this. Shows the difference between Mythic and Mythic Plus is nothing. First, daily random heroic actually gives 400, which is amazing. Random heroic dungeon actually gives 100, so just almost as good as Mythic if you're flying through twice the speed. And of course, heroic dungeon bosses can give some. Random normal bosses can give some. Daily quests, they're all out there. The world quests are called now. Still people calling them dailies, but they're just call them world quests. They can give a variance of 150 to 400, it looks like. And then apparently you can get some cool in BG 50 tokens or something like that. So yeah, it shouldn't be that hard to farm. I think people just have to want to do it. And once you do pretty much every content in the game, I think that number there really exemplifies that, right? Just looking at all the different types of things in the game. So the next time somebody says to me, man, there's nothing to do in the game, and you'd be like, "Ooh, is your artifact max?" You know what I mean? There you go. Because literally all of those things, even arena, gives 5. So there's always some way to play this game and to be progressing your character. And then PvP at the end, I just don't really see much to talk about there. He's basically talking about some gear can come from PvP, but nobody's really cared or tested it. So, and PvP talents don't work in PvE, stuff like that. So anyway, that's longer than I expected it, but that's, I think, something that you really should consider. I bookmarked this, and it's going to be in the description for you guys. If you have any questions or you want to talk about any of these topics, let me know. I just wanted to help share awareness about this because I think this is a really good community-driven idea. I don't know exactly if the guy planned on making it community-driven, like if he actually planned on it circulating to the degree it is, but I'm sure if you are one of the people who had not heard of this, I would really appreciate, and I hate to do this because I don't want to sound like an idiot whore here, but if you are one of the people who hadn't heard about this, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a comment about it and like whether or not you feel like it's something that helps the community or whatever, just so I can get a gauge on how many people like are in what situation. And then, I guess if you're not, then you could tell me about that too. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.